we can either go on to the next one, or you guys can start reviewing it without them. I suppose it's up to you.
Let's start with opening the hearing.
Okay.
All right. So pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, as extended on June 15, 2021, with the governor's signing of Senate Bill number 2475, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found below. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the meeting ends abruptly, the meeting will not be restarted and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting. Right. It is 6:01. I will now call to order the November 8th, 2021 meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Are there any public concerns, non-agenda items?
I have not received any.
All right. Hearing none. Public hearing/meetings. Public hearing continued from October 25th. Notice of intent filed by Lathrop Community Inc. at 100 Bassett Brook Drive, map 104, lot 2, for improvements to existing trail network, Mass DEP file number 1510315.
They've requested to continue to the November 22nd meeting. I have no other updates.
Okay. Is there a motion to continue to November 22nd at 6 p.m.?
Motion to continue November 22nd at 6 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August?
Aye.
Busa?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Teffer is absent and Whittemore is absent. Motion carries. All right. Next item, request for certificate of compliance, River Valley Cooperative Market, 228 Northampton Street, Mass DEP file number 1510301 for site redevelopment for a new supermarket and related site work, map 114, lot 12 and 12.1. Good evening.
Good evening. How is everyone tonight?
Excellent.
So yeah, Jeff Squire from the Berkshire Design Group, for the record, here on behalf of River Valley Market. We are, I think, cleaning up the last of the remaining conditions and permit requirements for the project now that it's been open for a little bit of time now. And so this is a request for a certificate of compliance for the notice of intent that was issued for the project. The entirety of the project has been constructed and is complete, with the exception of a very small area around where the solar batteries and transformers need to go. The batteries are in place. What they are waiting for now, and what is the remaining fenced off area, is for Eversource to come in and install their transformer. They've got a couple utility poles to drop in and route the lines over to make that system entirely functional. But everything else on the site has been planted, seeded, stabilized. You know, obviously everyone knows they've been open for some time now. We have been monitoring and stormwater system and all the other utilities. We did provide as-built drawings, record drawings of the project. No issues have risen that we're aware of. So we provided a letter of a certification letter, as well as built drawings, and along with the WPA Form 8 to request a certificate of compliance.
Thank you. Cassie, have you completed a site visit?
Yep, we did a site visit on the 4th, on Friday, and Commissioners Whittemore and August were also in attendance. And I can share the pictures if you guys want.
I don't know that that's that's necessary. I guess, are there any comments from commissioners in attendance at the site visit?
No, everything looked good except there was still an issue with the, the drain, the basin that was there previously. The feeder had put in. So
Are
they,
you talking about the basin that has water in it near
Yes.
the rear of the property?
yeah,
It's come before the commission before. I can share a picture if you guys like it. It retains water for a time.
I guess my question is, was that relative to the limits of work? Was that in the scope of the River Valley project, or was that outside the limits of work?
Jeff, you were saying that they didn't do anything. They didn't do any work for that, did they?
For the existing outfall from the, no, I mean, they improved the pipe capacity and rebuilt that head wall, but all that is, as was originally existing on the site. So all those stormwater flows, all of those were part of the system. And there were, I think, Deborah, maybe what you're referring to is there was a level lip spreader at one of the locations from a sub-drain. And just because of the depth of that level spreader, there's some water standing in the bottom of that. It does not affect the functionality of the level spreader. Water still is able to get in there. We've said if it continues to be a problem, it can certainly be filled in. There's no capacity issue, no other concerns with the way it functions. It just happens to hold a little bit of water because it is near the wetlands and does collect a lot of water from that hill. But it doesn't affect the stormwater system at all.
Jay, did you, I'm sorry, I don't remember the commissioners Cassie said were present. Was it you and Michael or just Michael?
It was Commissioner August and Commissioner Whittemore. Whittemore's not here, so.
And I've walked the whole property at a different time.
Okay. So I guess, Cassie, do you have any other comments or concerns relative to the issuance of a complete certificate of compliance? Or do you have a kind of a summary reminder of ongoing conditions?
Yeah, I can review the ongoing conditions. I don't have any concerns about the issuance of certificate of compliance. There was little things like maybe piles of sand from leftover the weights that were put on for the fencing. Some of those were cut open and left, and there's two tire ruts left over that are.
I saw those. It looks like somebody drove into the retention pond at some point.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. And Jeff had said that they were going to talk to the solar company, I believe it was, and they were going to come fix it.
Yeah, they'll certainly get those taken care of. It's that the combination of contractors to do that solar work has been rather extraordinary. So there's people in and out of there all the time and all sorts of people, but River Valley is certainly attentive to some of those issues and is going to take care of, whatever they need to make their site, comply and look correct.
I would suggest that possibly falls under O&M for stormwater management features as well.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so for the requirements for certificate of compliance for the order of conditions were the completed form 8A, which was submitted, the letter certifying compliance, which was also submitted, the as-built plans, which I received, and the post-construction photographs, which were obtained during the site visit. The in perpetuity conditions, so ongoing conditions, even if you guys do issue a certificate of compliance, stabilized slope shall be maintained as designed and constructed at the property owner record, whether bioengineered or mechanically stabilized. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers should not be used within a 100-foot buffer zone. Organic pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers may be used subject to review and approval by the commission. Native plant species, only native non-invasive plant species may be planted on site. Seed mixes should also consist of 100% native non-invasive species. There should be no dumping of leaves, grass clippings, brush, or other debris into the wetland resource areas or the 100-foot buffer zone. There should be no additional alterations of area under the Conservation Commission jurisdiction without the required review and permits. And the last one, continued monitoring and management of non-native and or invasive species on site to prevent the spread of non-native or invasive species within the project area, including but not limited to the stormwater basins. And that is it.
So if we were to capture that in a motion, what numbers are those?
It's conditions 63 through 68.
Oh, that's easy. Okay. So is there any further discussion from the commission? Seeing none, would anyone care to make a motion regarding the request for certificate of compliance?
Motion to issue a certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions 63 through 68.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August?
Aye.
Busa?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
And Commissioners Teffer and Whittemore are absent. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next item on the agenda, request for certificate of compliance for the Russ Kaufman property, 298 and 300 Ladville Road, Mass EP file number 1513008 for installation of a retaining wall to address slip failure as remediation associated with an enforcement order, mapped 120 lots 11 and 12. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Well, thank you. Welcome.
Great. Thanks. Well, for the record, my name is Bucky Sparkle. I am the engineer of record for this project, did the design, as well as recently sent in the engineer's certificate, Form 8A, certificate of requirements, compliance request. This morning was a site visit with Cassie and Jay Ryan and someone else whose name escapes me at this moment.
Michael Whitmore was there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Essentially, the project is done. It is stabilized. Everything seems to be in order at this point, and they're just looking to close out the paperwork on this project. So happy to talk about any questions. So
I did it. Are there any observations from the site visit that anyone would like to share?
I thought that the site looked very stable. There's only grass growing on it now, but it needs to have some kind of other plantings done to it. But it looks stable. I mean, I saw it in the beginning. It was pretty scary.
Yeah, at the site visit, Becky explained, so there's a number of stakes that are in the wall as well, like planting stakes that didn't look like they made it, but that was like an additional thing it's not required for the structural integrity of the wall. It's just an additional measure that Bucky decided was probably worth it to pursue. Also, the grass in portions of it it's brown. It looks potentially dead, but he's been informed that that's how it will look into the future. Is parts of it will be green and parts of it will be a little brown. I can share pictures if you guys like to see. Does that sum it up correctly, Bucky?
yes, although the live stakes, yeah, they are helpful for the structural integrity. So I do know I've been in conversation with a contractor that was Taylor Davis, and but even before I mentioned it to them, they knew about the problem. They were already trying to source new live stakes. They're going to be replacing them. Like so many other weird things going on, they cannot source them for where they used to. They've been looking for weeks, and at this point it's probably going to be spring, but they will be out there again because I told them they needed to be if they wanted to have my good graces in going forward. We do work together from time to time. I'm confident they'll take care of it. They're a conscientious crew.
Does the replacement of those stakes, does that fall under an ongoing condition, Cassie?
Hold on one second, let me see.
Thank you.
So there's two things. One is that there was also with the order issued a living wall maintenance guide, which I believe.
I think the last point of those talked about the live stake.
Yeah. So if the retaining wall is only seated at the time of if the retaining wall is only seated at the time of installation, live stakes may be added to increase stability, aesthetics, wildlife habitat, and ecological succession. That's probably the most relevant part. That's attachment C to the original order. And then it does talk about, so in perpetuity condition 59, Stabilized slope shall be maintained as designed and constructed by the property owner of record, whether by engineered or mechanically stabilized slopes. The permittee, their successors and or signs shall conduct all maintenance described in the living wall maintenance guide revised June 8th, 2020. That kind of captures it.
Are there any other comments or observations from today's site visit?
Bucky brought up an issue with that the property owners had said that people are moving stones around in the main path of the North Branch to maybe make a swimming hole, which is causing water to come closer to this property. But we don't know if it's even the property owner that's doing this or who it is. But that just was something that came up at the site visit this morning.
Yeah, and it's a complaint that's been made before in the past. I think even potentially some years ago. I did a little more research today, and I talked to Mark Simpson about it actually. And I can share pictures if you guys want to see. I do have one good picture that I think shows what's happening there, and it potentially be, I don't know to what degree it's directing the water, but it certainly could be. But Mark's main point was that the property, we typically issue enforcement to property owners. So
Right.
This violation is occurring within the waterway of the North Branch of the Manhattan River. It's like in the water there. So that, he said, is likely the ownership is of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And so the people to be pursuing it would be DEP. And so he says they would need, or DEP would need evidence of who is committing the action, either photographic or some video or whatever. And then we'd have to be able to identify that person and then, pursue enforcement with them. Because if they do appeal the enforcement and it goes to, Superior Court, they would be like, okay, what's the proof? And I don't know how to obtain that proof necessarily.
This seems like a separate disjoint issue.
I agree with Julie. I think it's something to, it's independent of their request for certificate of.
Oh yeah, it doesn't affect their CFC. It was just something that came up.
I agree.
That could cause future problems, that's all.
It's a very good point to bring up. And maybe Cassie, if you could, for a future meeting, summarize, the previous complaints and maybe further request support or opinions from DEP as to what actions could be taken, because the city, I don't know who even has legal access down there.
Yeah, I can definitely do more research and agree it's worth noting. And I could either I'll update the commission, I think probably next meeting. There should be enough time.
Cassie, if I may suggest, I know the Kaufmans seem to have a fair amount of information. This is how I learned about it, and I was only able to share a small portion of what I believe they know, and I think they do have a degree of documentation. So if you are able to reach out to the Kaufmans, I'm sure they would be cooperative because they are concerned that there's a lot more water coming to the bottom of their hill now.
Sure, definitely. Thank you. Yeah, I'll reach out to them.
All right. If there's any problems, let me know and I'll stick my nose in again.
Thanks.
Thank you for that suggestion, Bucky. All right. So barring any further discussion, would anyone, Cassie, could you provide numbers of ongoing conditions?
Yes, hold on just a second. The in perpetuity conditions are conditions 59 through 64, and then the living wall maintenance guide, if you want to include that. Attachment C.
All right. Would anyone care to make a motion regarding the request for certificate of compliance?
Motion to issue a certificate of compliance with ongoing conditions 59 through 64 in adherence to the living wall maintenance guide that was included with the submission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, roll call vote. August? Yusa?
Aye.
Buttrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
And Commissioners Teffer and Whittemore are absent. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See y'all next time.
Yep.
Have a
Right.
good night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Next items on the agenda, enforcement actions. Cassie, any updates regarding either CFN Properties or Bernard Gall at 37 South Street? You're muted, Cassie.
Thank you. I do have an update, but I'd actually like to make a request to take an item out of order
Okay.
for the people who are here. The item is apologies, 7T for 50 Florence Road. They were a change request for the commission's review.
All right, this item, is there a motion to take item 7T out of agenda order?
Motion to take item 7T out of order.
Second.
All those in favor, August? Yusa?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Commissioners Teffer and Whittemore are absent. Motion carries. Item 7T, Beacon Solar LLC, 50 Florence Road, Mass. DEP file number 151314 for the large-scale solar project, map 115, lots 2 and 5. Good evening.
Hi, thank you for taking us out of order. My name's Brad Saunders. I'm with GEI Consultants, and I have with me tonight the engineer of record, Andy Santa, also of GEI. The issue that has come up is at the very first wetland crossing in from Florence Road, when they were getting ready to start to construct that crossing, which, as you may recall, was going to be a 12-inch thick slab so that we could pass over the existing culvert there. They found that a number of voids had formed from the surface of the road. Primarily, they started to form this late summer and early fall with some of the rainfall that we had. And so they became very concerned about where those voids go to within the road surface, so that before putting down the slab, the relieving platform, they wanted to be able to take care of those voids. They also were told that there is a water line within that road surface somewhere. And the town's not sure exactly where it is. It's an 8-inch water line that actually serves as a loop connection to the Lathrop community. And so when we're talking about putting a slab in there, we have to find where that water line is first and actually find out whether it's actually there and not just a rumor that it happens to be there, and then accommodate that within the same crossing design that we have. So what we're proposing to do is, in the letter that I sent last week, according to that sequence, we'd excavate very carefully on either side of the existing culvert, which is essentially, we were going to do that down to the top of the culvert anyway, in order to put the relieving slab on. Now we would actually excavate down to the bottom elevation of the culvert to take care of the voids that appear to be down in there somewhere. And at the same time, we'll find where that water line is. And if it's actually there, then we'll accommodate it within the slab by actually having 2 separate slab sections. It'll be cast in place. So rather than a single slab, it would be 2 slabs with the water main going between them, so that there wouldn't have to be any breaking up of the concrete in the future if anyone needed to get in there to maintain the water line. So the procedure is essentially to excavate down to the bottom of the culvert on either side. It'll be a 2.5 to 3 foot long excavation if you're thinking about the approach and the departure from the crossing. They would put in some sheet piling temporarily along the edge to contain the concrete that they will put in to fill in that the void area. We're talking about a 3 foot deep section of concrete and a length of about 2.5 feet. which would fill up to the top of the existing concrete, the existing culvert. Then we'd have the cast in place relieving slab that was proposed before, although if the water line is there, would be in two parts. And then proceed to construct the rest of the road surface the way it was proposed. So it's to address the issue of the voids that have been found there and to accommodate the water line if it actually exists in that location. So that's the proposal. All of the work would be done within the limit of disturbance that's already been identified in the approved plans of record. So we wouldn't anticipate going outside of those lines for this work. And would like to have this work approved as a minor field modification rather than go through an amendment process or a new notice of intent filing. So that's what we're asking for this evening.
Do you have a sketch of this? I see you provided a summary, a written narrative of the proposed modification. And there is a sketch. Cassie, do you mind sharing your screen?
Yeah, not at all. Hold on a second. I'll pull it up.
And then are there any photographs of this as well, of the existing condition?
The only photograph that I had was really of just a hole.
Hole in the ground, hole in the pipe?
A hole in the surface of the road.
You may be able to see it. I don't know if it's the full extent of it in some of the pictures that I took from the pre-construction site visit.
When was that again, Cassie?
That was
sometime in September, maybe.
It was on the 16th of September. I'm pulling it up now if you want me to try to see.
Okay, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Here's one I can share. I'm going to stop this share. Hold on. This is the crossing is, where is it in relation to this? I mean, it's right either, maybe probably a little more to the right here.
Yeah.
So when was the silt fence installed? And relative to this, I'm assuming the erosion occurred. When did the erosion occur relative to the silt fence installation? They installed the silt fence like that?
Well, that's the way it was at the time of the site inspection or the pre-construction work. I don't know whether that erosion had occurred before the fence got installed. I know the fence was only installed a couple of weeks before that inspection.
Let me see if I have any other pictures of it. Hold on. This is the other side, I think. It may be a different, yeah, I think that's the other side. But the other one, this is the main.
So my concern is that section of erosion control barrier is in no way effective as it appeared in this photo.
I would agree. They haven't started any construction out there.
True, but you know, we shouldn't, it's a separate issue, but we really, at this location, if they'd started construction the next day, this would not have been adequately effective. And then you mentioned that there's a water main potentially. Is it not within an existing easement that would have shown up on the site drawings?
That's right. It didn't show up on the drawings. There is an access easement through there for emergency access to the Lathrop community, some sort of a separate emergency only access as an easement, but there's no easement for that we saw for a water main.
And Cassie, is that a municipal water main, or is that an agreement that would have been between Lathrop and Mr. Gall as the property owner of this land?
I haven't heard of it before, this instance of, I'm assuming when Mr. Saunders heard of it, but my guess though is that if it's between Lathrop and it's on Mr. Gall's property, that potentially it's not municipal, but I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I asked Andy if he's there, if there was any input from the town on this. It was my understanding that the town's maps don't show it.
Yeah, I talked to the contractor about it. And he had called to the town engineer and was kind of trying to, because we had heard through the property owner that the water main existed through there. And so the town engineer did come out, and he had mentioned that they don't really have, that's the one kind of section of town that they don't really have any records on the water main. So it's almost like a file was missing or something. So that's secondhand through the contractor. So.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is these proposed measures are within the footprint of the existing gravel road, within the erosion and sedimentation control barriers.
But they're within the limit of disturbance line that's in the plans of record. Excuse me.
Cassie, can you share the final approved plan of record view of this location?
Yep, hold on just a second.
Thank you.
Okay, existing conditions, overall site.
Oh, you almost had it.
Is there a closer one?
No, go further up. Okay, right there.
I just thought maybe we should go to
Yeah.
CX01
Yes,
just to get it closer.
Okay.
And while Cass is scrolling there, has there been
You're
an
already going
assessment?
past it.
I see, sorry.
That'd be the
Has there
first
been-
one.
Like C101. There.
Has there been an assessment of the other culverts since this observation?
Well, we have walked along the road for the other culverts. This is the only one where there was actually a fill really involved for the crossing. The other culverts are relatively at grade. So they're not, they don't have the same situation as this one.
Is that it right there, Cassie?
That's it.
That's it.
Sorry if I wait.
So apologies, Cassie, but do you see the call out there that says existing culvert to remain in place? See detail C56 on sheet C503.
Okay, let's do that.
Can we go there?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
C56 on sheet C503, I believe.
03. One more.
Right there.
Culvert location 1. So can you zoom into that detail? Can you toggle over to the proposed repairs?
Yes.
There should be a section if you go to, yeah. Oh, one more.
And was there any assessment of what may have caused or exacerbated this condition at this culvert crossing?
I don't believe so, Andy.
No, I mean, there was a couple of large storms that occurred with the hurricane, and then I know there was another one that I think is part of the timing of when the erosion may have occurred. Other than that, there could be piping along the outside of the culvert that may be causing something, but without really being able to the contractor at this point doesn't want to excavate down without kind of knowing what he's going to get into. So we haven't really researched it. We've been able to kind of look to see what's going on.
It strikes me that this proposal seems like a creative way to essentially build a crossing around the existing culvert to avoid doing a proper stream crossing replacement.
Well, I can say that we wanted to keep that culvert exactly as it was. There was concerns that were expressed during the original public hearings by abutters downstream about potential flooding that could occur. So we did not want to change any of the hydraulics of the streams, including the size and location of that culvert, which is actually at the head of the stream that goes down towards that Maxine Circle area. And so what we were able to do was propose putting a relieving slab across. And what we have found now is that there are some voids that have formed underneath in the soil. So we're going to need to essentially fill those voids before we can put the relieving slab on.
I understand that, but what I think is happening is that we said at the beginning that we were not fully convinced that this crossing wasn't going to need replaced. You told us that it wasn't. And now what we're seeing is that it does in fact need upgraded in order to do the work that you want to do.
Well, we don't think it needs to be replaced at all.
And yet it won't hold up the traffic going over it.
Well, of course it will. The relieving slab absolutely will. It's on either side where some voids have formed that we need to take care of. But the slab design and everything is exactly the same, and we remain convinced that that'll work just fine.
I'm not comfortable with this as a minor modification.
at a minimum, I'd like to suggest that the commission take time to review the proposed measures outside of this hearing, individually outside of this hearing, and regroup at our next meeting, because this is far more extensive than what was originally proposed, and does seem to be encapsulating the existing hydraulic conveyance in essentially a boxier but additional hydraulic conveyance. And as Commissioner Busa mentioned, it's the concern, as we understood it, I believe initially the slab was to dissipate ground pressure, spread ground pressure as opposed on the crossing itself, as opposed to concerns about the hydraulic capacity. And this seems to be a lot of work at this location compared to what was originally proposed and approved. Do any other commission members present have any comments at this time?
Kathy, that photo you had was from September. That's the last, you haven't been out there and looked at this since then?
No, I haven't been out there since then.
Right.
It was September 16th.
Right.
This is Commissioner Buttrick. I've been following along, and what it sounds like to me is that, so the proposal before was to place that load spreading slab over the existing culvert, which, kind of locks the culvert in place as it is now, a little bit more than it was before. And sounds like now, the footprint of work relative to the wetland resource areas isn't changing compared to what it was before. And even though there's kind of culvert repairs proposed, it is from at least from the description, sounds like it's just kind of the culvert barrel is okay, and this is just kind of working around that, and doesn't really change the footprint of work, doesn't change the impacts to the resource areas as much. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what it is, and I think I would like to actually see the documentation myself a little bit better, because I could be misunderstanding. But to me, it doesn't really sound like a change in terms of what the scope of the project is in any significant kind of way. I guess that's what I'm hearing and thinking right now. But if we are going to wait to discuss this again once we have a chance to look at it later, I would appreciate that.
Commissioner Ryan, do you have any thoughts to share on the matter?
No, I guess I'd like to look at the site as it is currently at some point before the next meeting, that's all.
Cassie, can you schedule a site visit so that the commission has the opportunity to view this with the proposed measures in hand?
Yeah, I can do that. I can reach out to you, Brad, later, and we can organize it if that works for you.
That's fine.
All right.
That's fine.
All right. Thank you. So the commission will table this matter until our next meeting.
Okay, and when would the next meeting be?
November 22nd at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping, for listening to us.
Appreciate
Have a good night.
Good night.
All right, returning to agenda order, Cassie?
Yeah.
All right. Are there any updates on enforcement actions?
Yeah, so something that we talked about at the last meeting was that at 10 O'Neill Street, Complete Automotive, there was an issue that there's been repeated instances of parking within the area that was of concern where the violation had occurred. I've uploaded pictures of those instances just from September and October. And I believe, yeah, throughout September and October is when those were seen of just parking different vehicles, different times, switching them out. And just kind of generally, it seems like they're probably using the area again to at least temporarily park cars.
Yeah, they're not storing vehicles there, but people who show up don't have room, they're parking it there. So
Yeah.
It seems like it changes every day.
So it seems like the matter is not going to resolve itself. And so I think we need to resume efforts to coordinate with this property owner, business owner. Really, it's the property owner. The business owner, if they are a tenant, if they're not the property owner, it's incumbent upon the property owner to maintain compliance with the regulations. If they want to propose to the commission utilizing a change in use of this area to overflow parking, then I think that's potentially worth pursuing as a matter of course, and the commission may want to consider appropriate mitigation or stormwater management. And I will mention briefly, I have 4 minutes left on my meeting attendance clock before I have to bounce to another virtual meeting.
All right, talk faster.
I tried.
Well, I have to say, I think that was the only other item that I had.
Okay.
Was an update for a project update. They asked to continue to the next meeting, so they're not going to present tonight. And then it's just the general business. So
okay,
we can table also the review of the tree removal policy to the next meeting. However you guys want to do it.
I mean, I think there's still a quorum if I bow out. So if there's an ability to and interest in having that discussion, please don't completely put it on pause until on my behalf. Okay, do we want to go to general business and take a vote regarding the meeting minutes of October 25th, 2021? Do we have an appropriate quorum for this?
Good question.
We don't know.
Let me double check.
Okay.
I was not in attendance at that meeting.
Right.
Nor was I.
So we would need
We don't.
Jay, Julie, we need Mike. Mike's not
We
here.
need somebody else. Yeah, we need
All right.
somebody else.
Deb was it.
So we'll have to make a point to include this item on the November 22nd meeting agenda.
Mhm.
And I apologize, Cassie, if you included a link to the draft 2022 schedule in your email, I did not scroll enough.
It's okay. I think I attached it, but there's always a chance that I forgot. So I can pull it up now.
I don't see a link to it. I see it underlined, but not a,
Yeah.
unless it was a follow-up.
Yeah, sorry about that. I probably forgot to attach it. Let me pull it up here. It's following the same mechanisms as always. The second and the fourth Monday of each month. Let me share my screen. Notable things, let's see. Legal ad publication deadline, submittal deadline. It's a week before, or the preceding meeting date, essentially.
Are there any state or federal holidays that we have to?
We missed most of them this year, except for again in October.
Okay.
Yeah.
The 26th through the, when does Thanksgiving? Oh, that must be the Monday after Thanksgiving.
It probably is. That one is
Okay.
always up to you guys how you want to deal with it. I didn't include the time around Christmas either, which was when the other one was going to be falling close to, I think, if not on it.
I don't have an October 2022 calendar.
Let me pull it up. I can tell you guys. Thanksgiving in 2022 is on. Is it always on the 27th? I know that's a ridiculous.
No, it's the fourth Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
The fourth Thursday? Okay.
Yeah.
It is on the 24th, which is the preceding Thursday.
I'm just looking at the gap in October if we only have one meeting, but if are comfortable with that, I think we can, I don't know, think about that for further discussion, maybe.
Sure.
If there's, and that's really, that and December are kind of the only months where we don't have 2 meetings. Okay, I need to excuse myself. Jay, are you?
Sure. Sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Have a good
No
evening.
problem. Good night.
Bye.
Okay, so I'm sorry, did we say we wanted to take this at the next meeting, or do you guys want to, we still have quorum if you want to vote on it? I missed what she said at the end there.
I think we should look at the calendar a little closer. That's because I didn't look at it. So I think we just kick it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Are there any other compliance updates? You have a couple things highlighted, but we kind of talked about Ladville.
Yep, so, hold on just a second.
Kaufman, Ladville we talked about, but is there anything else that's jumping out?
Yeah, the only other thing is, so 6973, they were going to come, but they decided to continue. They want to finalize some details.
Okay.
And then otherwise, there's nothing else beyond the tree policy, if you guys
Right.
want to review that. I made some
I-
changes based on last time.
The only thing I went through it again today. The only thing, I think we mentioned this last time, just a definition for the DBH, the diameter at breast height. There's
Oh, yeah.
there's nothing there that says what that is, and it's in the document in a couple different places. So
Yep.
it might confuse some people.
Yep. Yeah, I changed it to say spell out diameter breast height, but that, yeah, you're right. I forgot there's going to add a. Okay. And trying to think what other changes I made. I tried to clarify the wording, kind of was interchangeably using removal versus cutting. I tried to just change, just say cutting.
Okay.
So that, because ideally they won't remove at any point, ideally they won't remove the roots for any of these trees. It would just be at least at the minimum, leaving the stumps.
Right.
So I like to, phrasing it, cutting seemed a little more clear. And then, let's change, let me pull it up.
And I don't know if Deborah checked grammar and spelling yet, but
She did.
okay.
I
Good.
appreciate
All
it.
right.
There was mistakes, so that was really helpful. One of the things that was mentioned, certified arborist, I was added. Deb caught that. That was good. Hazardous, the question of who would be completing the work. I'm not really sure still yet what we landed on and how to address that, because they would have to be reviewed by a certified arborist. Do you want to say that it had to be completed by them? Because some people,
I don't know. I mean, the homeowner might be able to do it in some cases. So I don't know if we box them into it, they may complain that, well, I could do that. So I don't know.
Could the arborist suggest, can they look to see what needs to be cut? And then if the arborist says the homeowner can do it rather than the arborist, I mean, could an arborist give the okay? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think you're going to get an arborist to say that it's okay for the homeowner to do it, because that puts a lot of liability on them.
Okay.
And we'll see the videos on YouTube. So
Okay. So then I don't know how you can determine if the homeowner can do it or the arborist.
right.
I mean, officially.
I don't know.
yeah. And this document was benchmarked off another town, right? So it doesn't look like they would allow the homeowner to do anything.
Yeah, it doesn't, I don't even think that they got into the arborist talk though in the original one.
Okay.
I think it was, let's see, this is from Lincoln. Request. This is, I don't know if, am I sharing this right now? Are you seeing this?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, do we want to look at a couple other towns and see how they're addressing that, and see if there's a better wordage that would help us?
Yeah, I can definitely reach out to other communities and see what they got. Yeah, it doesn't mention an arborist in this one. And then, one of the other things was mention of there's a lot of places where it was talking about like impacts to lawn. I kind of took that out of there, and Julie had said like, well, then it's like everything is potentially a hazard because like, hazards to lawn, it's kind of a hard sell. So I changed it. I took out lawn, just maintain portions of property, driveway, leaching field, parked equipment, home, shed. And I didn't include lawn anymore. And if people want to make a case lawn, then we can, I guess, hear them out. So I didn't exclude it explicitly, but I agree that it was kind of like lawn.
Would the tree warden be helpful for any wording that we're looking for?
Yeah, I could try to reach out to the tree warden. It certainly couldn't hurt, I don't think. This is definitely, it's not within, they do municipally owned trees only, but couldn't hurt. So I'll reach out to them.
Okay.
Cassie, on the map, what are we expecting them to really base the assessment of where the wetlands and buffer zone are?
So it would be looking at a combination. What I do for my review is I look at Mass Oliver, and then, which is, not like a complete, some delineation by any means. Then also I'll look at stream stats and then aerial imagery, and then do a site visit and just kind of see like, okay, does it look like it would basically be my best judgment. Does it look like it's close? It looks not close. We can change it so that this can just come to the commission for approval. It won't just be me looking at it. I probably would just kind of make it in the field assessment of it.
So I guess I'm just a little bit concerned about how this is going to play out, because typically, the burden is supposed to be on an applicant to the wetlands, to anything that comes before us for Wetlands Protection Act. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it seems like the burden is very much shifted to you to go out and kind of do this work for them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many of these there are going to end up being, but
right.
It's kind of putting that all on you if we want it to be done at all correctly.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. So yeah, that's a really good point. So I think like, I haven't gotten, in the little over 2 years that I've been here, 2 times people have asked about removing trees. So it hasn't come up really much at all. But it's just got me thinking, like, if it does, it's something that happened a lot in Greenfield, and they would all come to the commission and they would review it. So I never was the person who made the call, but they didn't require a delineation either. It was just like, okay, what is the publicly available mapping showing? What does it look like from these site visit pictures? Like, so it is an interesting thing. The intent is so that there is kind of this, at least a set standard for these tree removals, but also a little bit more of an expedited process for like a small number of tree, like mm-hmm. in this instance, I just kind of said no more than 5 trees. But the commission doesn't have to adopt this at all if we're thinking like, no, just people have to go through the RDA process. Like, we're not going to do this, No,
I like the idea. I'm just not sure I don't know what the alternative would be, but
Well, let's see if other towns have solved it for us and see if there's other ways to approach this, because have the landowner, have the wetland identified for a map. That's not a cheap process.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can walk out there and look and say, oh yeah, that's a wetland, you're 25 feet from it, just stay out of it.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely not supposed to be, because basically, yeah, we're just trying to see, like, is it in the, is it in the, like, fully in the wetlands, or is it just within one of these, the buffer zone of the riverfront area? And a big part of it is just so, like, for my opinion, it's like, if something's at the top of a slope, it's like, maybe we should not do this because it's at the top of a slope and
Right.
keep it stable, things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely will ask around and see what other people are doing.
Okay.
One other question I wanted to pose is whether it's a given, or if we need to spell it out, that 5 approved today doesn't mean you can also have 5 approved next week or next month.
Right, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, we could say, what would be a way to do it? We could say, like, you can only do one within a 5-year period, or like, because I certainly would be keeping a record of all of it. That's the other bonus
Right.
of it, is kind of keeping a record. So we could see how many had also gone through within a year's period. But I don't know what is a good time frame to be like no more than X amount in a year.
It might also just be good to have a line somewhere that basically says, the conservation agent always has the authority to kick it to the Conservation Commission if you're not comfortable approving
Right.
something, and then that covers it. If it feels like someone's abusing it, you just kick it up.
That's right. That makes sense.
Cool. I like that.
Anything else that we're missing?
I think
So,
I'm sure it'll change a good amount. Oh, do you have something, Deb?
yeah, Jay had said something about it could be a little costly to do certain things. Didn't you say something, Jay, about?
Well, if we had to have them hire someone to come in and define the wetland boundary, that could be an expensive thing to, just take down a safety hazard that's outside the boundary. It's outside the wetlands. It's in a buffer zone. If it's in a wetland, that might be a whole different discussion. But if it's at 50 feet, and then we have to tell the homeowner, you've got to hire a wetland scientist to go and mark this boundary, and it costs them $1,200 to do that, it could be, it could be a problem.
Okay. So is there something that needs to be written in there that the as Julie said, the burden is on the applicant, or that they have to cover certain costs?
Right. Well, that's what, I'd like to see what a couple other towns, if they've solved this problem already, and what their wordage is like, and maybe we can just, take that and fold that into this document.
Okay. Because if someone said, oh, I have this tree, I can cut it myself, and then they think there's no cost and there's no other additional cost, and then we come back with, you have to have it delineated or you have to hire someone else, then they'll think we're putting additional burden on them.
Right. So, maybe if it looks like it's in the wetland, then they have to have it delineated or something like that. Or, if it's in a wetland, why would they need to cut it unless they have a wetland that's right next to their garage or something? I don't know. But, someone else may have come up with some ways of approaching this, so we could try to see what they're doing.
Okay.
I'll let you guys know what I find out at the next meeting for sure.
And we have our new tree warden. So you said you were going to talk to, is it a female?
Yeah, what's her name?
Yes.
I think her name
I don't know. I've not met her. I just heard that we had a new tree warden.
I think her name is Sarah Greenleaf.
Okay.
That's a very apt name for a tree warden.
That's
Yeah,
what I was
there you
able to
go.
remember. I was like, that is so perfect. I think that's her name. Maybe that's totally off, but it's something like really appropriate, which is
We're
awesome.
going with that for tonight. All right. Any other surprises? We good?
That's all I had.
All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call. Commissioner Cody is absent with notice. Commissioner Buttrick.
Aye.
All right. Commissioner Ryan, aye. Commissioner Busa,
Aye.
Commissioner Whitmore, absent. And Commissioner August,
Aye.
and Commissioner Teffer, absent with notice. All right,
Hey, awesome.
that should
Well,
do it.
thanks.
All right.
All right, have a nice night.
All right.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Aye.
Been a trip. Bye.
Bye.